Okay, now they're normally just here. Alright, now, can you see them?
Yes.
Right. Don't shine a light directly on them, but we're going to walk past them. And if you walk past gently, you can see they're all in that little thing. And they're like little baby figs. Okay?
Can we take pictures?
You can. Try not to use flash on them though. If you're going to take a picture with the flash, to one side, yeah? So you're not freaking them out. Otherwise it will freak them out and they'll be flying all over the shop.
Does it get any smaller in here?
No, this is it. This is the smallest it gets. This is actually, we made this the smallest area so that if it's not for you, you find out very early on. Yeah? Okay? It doesn't get any smaller than this. There's a lower part. I'll show you that in a second. And then we're into the cave proper. Alright? Okay, so this is the exit. We'll be coming out of here in about half an hour or so. Who was asking me if this is as small as it gets?
Me.
That was you. Okay. Now, just round the corner here. Do you see this? This is the lowest part of the whole cave. Alright? Now, if you can get through here, you're going to be just fine. It's like New York. You can make it through here, you can make it through anywhere. Okay? Just mind your head though, you will need to duck.
Yeah.
And that's it then. And in we go. We're actually going into Bear Haven. So just mind your head when we go in. I told you I'd tell you about that there. Those are the bones. Bless. Now, did you manage to get a picture of the bats?
No, I didn't see any.
They were
What? They were up in the funnel.
Yeah, they were up in the corner.
They might still be there when we go out. Remind me on the way out.
Okay.
And I'll just point that out to you. There's two ways to take a photo in the cave. There's a slow exposure, which is probably the best way to take a picture of the bats, because then you're not disturbing them. You just hold the camera as steady as you can for like half an hour. Now,
Just taking pictures.
so, those bones that you see there, now they're 7,000 years old. And they were dug up from just on this side. Can you see this? A little stringed off area there. You'll also notice it's quite shallow, so those bones were actually quite close to the front. Between those bones and the two chambers here that they found in 1974, this is the reason we have the bear as a symbol for the cave, because these are from the European brown bear. And the last of them died out here in Ireland 3,000 years ago, as I was saying. But we can a little bit more specific about these bears. They had to have been female. Now, the adult male bear is very territorial. I don't know if any of you have met or come across any bears, but they don't get on well with others. Okay? Female bears, though, much friendlier, especially when it's a sibling involved. So they think there was either a mother and daughter or two sisters in here. One of them, the one at the back here, would have been extremely pregnant, and she would have actually given birth here in the cave. Now, the rest of the year, they would have been out foraging. They didn't live in the caves. They weren't cave-dwelling bears. They lived outside in the forest. But in winter, they came in because the food sources died out, and also because it was cold, bitterly cold. So they came in here, and she would have given birth to her cubs. She'd have had either one or two. The one at the front here, now her cubs would have been either a year or 2 years old. They actually stayed with them for approximately 2.5 to 3 years. The cubs did. Okay? So she'd have been able to go to the front and sort out any problems at all. Okay? Then come back with no harm done, because the cubs were actually protected by both of them then. Also, okay, the reason that they came in here, apart from the lack of food, is because of the weather. If you have a look, especially on the peaks, at the way the trees grow here on the Burren, they grow up to a certain height and then they grow sideways, all right? And that's because of the wild Atlantic way. There's almost a constant barrage of wind, especially on the exposed peaks. The trees grow up, just like any other tree anywhere else in the world, until it gets to a certain height. It's normally the height of the nearest solid object, be it a wall or a building, and then they grow sideways. And it's because of that wind. Now, the further back in time you go, the colder that wind gets, because most of the year we have the wind is coming up through the Gulf Stream. Okay, but that cools down and starts to flow backwards round, and it's pushed down by the Arctic winds during winter. Okay, so that wind gets colder, and the further back in time, of course, the colder that wind was. All right, now, the thing is that it's only 10 degrees centigrade in here. That's about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, I think. And the thing is that it's not particularly warm. If you're a bear, though, you come equipped with a fur coat. becomes a standard, you know. So you're not worried too much about the cold, you're getting out the wind. Humans, on the other hand, would have been very worried about the cold. Okay, we don't have a fur coat. We'd have had to stay much, much closer to the entrance of the cave because we'd have needed a fire to keep warm. Okay, and also because we're quite weak, we're quite mentally strong, but physically we're quite weak, and so we'd have had to watch out for predators because as much as we are predators, we could also become prey to bears and to wolves as well. All right. Now we're going to go down into the next chamber, and as we go down into there. Oh, I forgot to mention, the entrance that we just used was the original entrance to the cave. Okay, now, it was discovered in 1940 by a local farmer called Jack McGann. And what had happened was, he was down in the valley below. His dog saw a rabbit, came racing up the side of the mountain and disappeared into it. Jack followed, he got about 200 metres, and he retrieved his dog and left. But when he was in here, he was crawling on his hands and knees through this top section. Okay? And that's why he didn't get to know about the bears, because there was rubble and debris under here. He was also crawling over that rubble and debris as well. It wasn't a very particularly pleasant place to be. And it wasn't actually until 1974 that anyone else came in and explored the cave, and that's because he told them about it in one of the local pubs. Okay? Now, we are in fact going to go down into the next chamber. As we go down that ramp, all right, there is a handhold. Have a look up. It's the first of the calcite formations and it's called the Wasp's Nest. All right. There are no wasps in the cave. Not at the moment, but come back at Halloween and there'll be a giant wasp in here somewhere. I haven't decided where we're going to put it. We're also going to have bear furs in that corner there. And it's going to be awesome. So if any of you could possibly make it back for Halloween, do so. Because we're all practicing our evil laughs. And if you want to join in on that as well, do. Now, as we're going down the ramp, you'll be looking up. This is the first of those calcite formations. Now, this is the Wasp's Nest. And because you're a nice small group, and I can show you because people at the back aren't going to miss it, that is a calcite wasp right there. Can you see that? Crawling into the roof of this cave, we have a critter. It's also made of calcite. And you can only show it people when there's up to 10 people, any more than 10, and the people behind never get to see it, which is why I'm showing you. Okay? So you're getting not only the bats, but you're getting the wasps as well. You're getting the VIP tour. Okay? Now, here we go. So we're actually walking through a dry riverbed, because in effect, that's what a cave is. I'll explain. We're walking through the cave that is formed from limestone, and this particular limestone is 350 million years old. It's about the same age as the coal that you put on the fire. It's from the same time area, okay? It's carboniferous rock. Now, the thing is that when it was formed at the bottom of a shallow tropical sea, when Ireland was about 10 degrees south of the equator, okay? Now, the land slowly moved north, and as it did so, cracks and crevices began to appear. Friction, yeah? Cracks and crevices began to appear in the rock, and that allowed the water to seep in. Now, more importantly for us today, it allows the air to get in. So the air that we're breathing is perfectly good natural air. We're not having it pumped in, okay? The thing is that the water came in gradually, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? Streamlet, stream, river, etc. And it came in and it ate away at the roof of the cave. It formed that phreatic tube. Now, we do know it was very delicate though, very gentle flow, because when it came across a layer of clay in the bedrock, it didn't have the strength to wash it away. Instead, it went up. And if you just look above our heads here, can you see it's like it's been eaten away? It's like a lunar landscape turned on its head. Okay? That was eaten away by the water because it didn't have the strength to go through the clay layer. But just have a look how thick that clay layer was, because it was an inch thick. That's about 2.5 centimetres, okay? And yet it was enough to force the water back into the roof of the cave. That went on for almost 1 million years, and then we had an ice age. The last ice age lasted 2.5 million years, and it was over 0.5 kilometre of ice locked up into that glacier. The glacier, by the way, covered up most of North America, most of Northern Europe, and Asia as well. There was so much of the world's water encased in that ice. There was a land bridge between Europe and Ireland, and that's how everybody and all the animals got here. We all just walked, okay? But of course the ice melted, and when it did, it became much more dramatic. It washed away those land bridges. It just filled them in nicely. In the cave here, it was much, much more dramatic because the first thing it did when it melted was it came racing through the inside of the mountain, and it washed away that clay layer, and then it went down, in some places up to 8 meters, straight down into the cave, right? Tearing a long, thin tube through it, and then it got behind the walls, and it washed away the clay layers there as well. Okay? Now, you can see the remnants of it. These rocks here, these rocks and boulders that you see here, they've all tumbled from the walls of the cave because when the clay washed away, it was like a vacuum. And once you release the vacuum, they just tumble down. Now, of course, eventually the ice all melted. It became a very calm and very tranquil cave because the river subsided and stuff. But we are still in Ireland, and I'm afraid we do occasionally get the odd shower here. You may have noticed while you've been here. The thing is, the rain falls from the sky, and as it's falling through the atmosphere, it's picking up little bits of carbon dioxide. That makes it ever so slightly acidic. Hits the limestone pavement above us, the burren, and the burren is actually slightly alkaline because lime is slightly alkaline. Filters through there, but as it's eroding it, that's why it looks that bleached colour, okay? Or the very light grey. It's because there's a chemical as well as a water reaction going up above our heads. Comes in here, of course, and it becomes a lot more interesting. Now, it brings in little bits of calcite, which is rock from above our heads, and it deposits it here. Now, you can see there's little pools of water just around here. This is rainfall from days and days and days ago, and it takes quite a way for it to leave here, and that's because we have clay layers below us. Not so in the next chamber, but I'll show you that in a few minutes. The thing is that the easiest way to think of this is if you live in a hard water area, this is limescale. This is what you find on the elements of your kettle and in your shower heads. Okay? Now, here in the cave, after about 5,000 or 6,000 years, it looks quite pretty. In your kettle, not so much. Okay? And also, here in the cave, although everything is natural, it doesn't look like other things. For instance, we have dragon's teeth down there, for all you Game of Thrones fans. There's dragons down there. We also have praying hands over there. Can you see those? And they're actually praying behind a curtain. So you can see right in front of there we have a curtain. We swing the torch up and you can see that there's a moth sitting upside down on the roof of the cave. And for those of you who haven't had your breakfast yet, there's a rasher of bacon. And I guarantee that's crisp. Now, we're actually going out from here to the next chamber. And as we do so, please watch your heads and shoulders on the right-hand side. Okay? Stay as close to the edge of the bridge as you can. You stand much less a chance of banging your head. It really is going to be quite close to your spheritic tube. Okay? I'm going to flick these lights, and as we go through, just have a look how the calcite is flowing over the rubble. So the rubble dictates how the calcite flows in. Big rocks, big drops. Little rocks, gentle drops. Okay? So that looks very much calmer. You come up to here, and huge slabs of the wall tumble down and lay almost horizontally into the cave. And it looks very much like a beach. It's like the tide went out 1,000 years ago, never quite found its way back into the cave. Okay? Now, I'm going to walk a little bit faster than you guys because I need to get to the other side of the bridge and turn on the lights. Please watch your heads and shoulders, especially here. This is where the danger starts. Alright? Now, I'm going to quiet down for a second.
You can't see it on the camera because I don't have light, but it's really pretty far down there.
Right behind you, closer than you think. Okay? Like the mirrors on the car, you know when it says the wall behind you, now behind you is closer than you think. This is also. Okay, now, for those of you who watch Game of Thrones, winter is coming. Those are some stark warnings for you. Now, that water that you see falling from the roof of this cave, perfectly good drinking water. The thing is, if we bottled it, you wouldn't buy it in a million years. And the reason is the name of this cave. Okay? You're walking through Aillwee Mountain. Okay? So it's wee water. When you translate that into English, it means yellow cliff. Again, we're trying to sell you some yellow cliff water. Not the greatest selling thing in the world, because anyone that's ever heard of yellow snow knows that that's not going to happen. Now, when it rains, it takes about half an hour to get here, but it drops into this chamber, and no matter how hard it rains outside, it'll never ever flood. And the reason for that is what's below our feet, because down there, it's like a honeycomb of limestone, okay? Filters through here quite quickly, and when it comes out, it's by the Birds of Prey Centre, okay? Now, you cannot miss it. You may have seen it on the way in. There's a pool with a fountain in it, okay? When you're leaving, have another look, because that's where the water from the inside of the mountain comes out at, okay? It goes back underground for 7 hours, and after 7 hours then, it's coming out in Galway Bay proper, all right? Just north of Ballyvaughan Harbour, okay? Now, have a look at these, because these are the fastest growing calcite formations in the cave, and they're called straws, because each one of those is hollow. The water trickles down the inside and drips. As it does so, it's leaving behind a tiny little piece of calcite, so small it takes between 75 and 100 years to grow 1 centimetre. And they're delicate. When they get to between 25 and 30 centimetres long, which is about the length of a ruler, they will snap off under their own weight. Okay? Now, let's put some flesh on those bones, shall we? Because there are 4 over here and 2 on this side. The longest ones you see are about 1,000 years old. And when they snap, they'll continue to form these stalagmites over here. And more importantly, they'll continue to form the frozen cascade down there. Alright? Now, this is actually as far as Jack got. He came down the side there, retrieved his dog, and left. His dog, by the way, was absolutely fine. He was down there drinking yellow water and having the time of his life. I have no word on the rabbits, I'm afraid. Someone told me he went to live on the farm in the countryside. I'm not sure if I believe them, but we'll take what we got. Now, the thing is that because they stopped here, they didn't get to see what we're about to. Between here and the next chamber, we're going up, over the top, and down a ramp. There's a big boulder underneath there, and we couldn't blast away at it. We had to protect the calcite, okay? So it's a little bit awkward, but you'll be just fine, all right? And it is worth the journey. I absolutely guarantee it. When you're ready, if you follow me, please, we're going to go ahead and along and inward and upward and onward. You see the few fossils around. Keep your eyes open, you will see them. Okay? Now just mind your heads as we come up the ramp, and this is it. It's an area we call the squeeze, but just watch your heads. This is calcite flow, very similar to the wasp's nest. This is different calcite flow, and I'll actually give you a chance to touch some of the calcite in a few seconds when we get into the next chamber. Okay? Just mind your heads though as we come in, mind your heads. Alright, now, this is what I want you to have a look at. Okay, do we have everybody? Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, so this is calcite flowstone, alright? We don't have a no-touch policy in the cave, and the reason for that is we want people to understand how the cave forms. So feel free to touch it. You'll find there's little bits of grit in there, smaller than the grains of sand on the beach. That's the calcite. Now this particular calcite, as you can see, is forming like lots of little bits and pieces, but it's coming in from that crack up above, and also this one here. So I'm going to allow you to go and touch it, okay? And I'm going to walk slowly backwards towards the panel, but I'll try not to blind you as I go back. But feel free to touch. You have a much better understanding once you've touched it. There's an old expression, it's seeing is believing, but feeling is the truth. Okay? So if you feel it, you get to know the truth of how caves form, and also why everything in the cave takes so long. Yeah.
Right up to give me some.
We rattle around numbers like 350 million years, and 8,000, and 10,000, and 20,000. until you've actually felt it, you've no idea why everything takes so long. Okay, now, as I was saying, it is worth the journey, and the reason is, the first thing you see when you come into here is a bunch of carrots hanging off the roof of the cave. Okay? Now, they're actually a true stalactite formation. What's happened here is that straws, similar to the ones in the previous chamber and the ones next to them here, have become blocked with silt or debris. The water then makes its way back up the inside and has to come around the outside. Very much like water leaving a sink. You pull out the plug and it drains away, going round and round and round and round. Now, the thing is that you can actually see the flow of calcite around those carrots. Can you see those lines going across? That's the way the calcite flows. And you'll also notice they get wider and wider the further down they get. And that's also it's because of gravity, okay? Gravity's pulling it down, and that's why it ends up in a point as well. That's why stalactites end up pointed. Stalagmites end up pointed for completely the opposite reason. It's still to do with gravity, but the calcite is ever so slightly heavier than the water, and so it drops first, and that's why it gets pointed that way. Now, the thing is, there's a huge gap between these two, and we are talking thousands of years before these two join. Luckily, though, we don't have to wait that long, because as the cave goes towards the back there, it gets smaller and smaller. And look what happens at the very back there. Can you see that? We have some true columns or pillars. Okay? Stalactites have been growing down, and they've merged with the stalagmites up underneath. And again, everything has taken a long, long time. And as we're talking about time here, just have a look at this. Because this is a broomstick stalagmite. And it's nice and strong. So strong that we were able to take a small core sample. We literally drilled a hole into the base, took away part of the centre, and had it analysed. That is 8,000 years old. And what is more impressive than that, if it could be said to be, is it's been fed by that. Can you see that tiny little straw on the roof of the cave? That's been feeding it one drip of calcite water every 30 odd seconds for 8,000 years. Just like that. Did you see that drip? Now, the thing is, that's not the original straw. If you have a look again at it, can you see there's a lump going around the side? There's like a little bit of a lip on the far side of the stalagmite. That is the previous straw. When it snaps off, it drops, and it merged with the calcite. So nothing was actually wasted. Okay? Now, is everybody feeling brave in the cave? Excellent. The reason I'm asking is there are very few places on the planet where you can experience total darkness, and you've just walked into one. We are practicing for Halloween. Did I mention that? Me and the bat, we're all practicing for Halloween. So, what I'm proposing we do is I'm going to turn all the lights in the cave off. If you have any lights on you, if you could just pop them in your pocket or hold them close to your chest. And if you need to hold on to someone or something, do so now. However, if it is a someone you're about to grab hold of, get permission first, because in the cave we can all hear you scream. Okay? Now, having said that, the lights are all going to go off, and the very last one is going to go off in 3, 2, 1. Now, this is total darkness. If you wave your hand in front of your face, you can't see it. In fact, if you wave your other hand in front of your face, you can't see that either. The thing is, after just a few moments, you start to feel yourself moving around. The reason you're moving is that your brains are playing tricks on you, because your brains know what it's like to be dark outside. And outside, if you just focus a little bit, if you just look the right direction, you will find the ambient light, because even on the darkest night outside, there is some ambient light. There always is. There has to be. Okay? The thing is, in the cave, not so much. Okay? And so after about 20 or 30 hours of dancing in the dark looking for the light, you do start to lose your mind a little bit. Okay? That's officially. Unofficially, I think 5 minutes would be more than enough. So I'm going to pop the lights back on again. Well done, guys. And not one of you screamed. That's always a good sign. Now, we're going to leave this chamber behind, and as we go along, just have a look at this rock. Round the corner here, there is a huge amount of calcite. And then as we leave the chamber proper, look back in one more time, because there's one of the rarest things you will ever see. It is a straw column. Normally straws snap under about 25-30 centimetres, okay? And it's because of their own weight. This one though, merged with the calcite flow from the stalagmite next to it. That blocked it. And as it grows, it's going to form into something very similar to a helter-skelter or a corkscrew. The water will be being pulled down by gravity, but because it's long and thin, it's going to be quite a dramatic turn, all right? So just have a look at that. Then, as we go further away from the chamber, you'll see there's more calcite on the wall. Feel free to touch that. Then we're going to come to a chamber similar to this, full of calcite, and then we're going to come to the stairs. There are 22 stairs. They're nice and wide and quite shallow, and we'll meet you at the bottom of those. Okay? And then we'll carry on walking along. And it is a photo opportunity at the bottom of those stairs. So when you're ready, I'm just going to flick the lights. That gives us plenty of time to go out. I wouldn't leave you in the dark twice. That was just cruel. That's more sort of a Halloween kind of thing. Now, just over here, can you see? We've actually got more than one column. There's one here as well. Okay? Come around the side here, and this is the one I didn't want you to miss, because just there, can you see that straw at the back? And purely by the by, the stalactite and stalagmite next to it that sealed that straw column will become a column on their own, but we're talking 500 or 600 years for those to join. We swing a little bit further around, and here's the calcite you can get a grip of, okay? You'll find there's a little bit more calcite flowing in there. It's a little bit wetter and also a little bit lumpier. It's those lumps that the calcite is. Now, just mind your heads as you come in. We're going to carry on travelling up here. We get to this section here. And you can see those little lumpy things on the floor. They look like growths, alien growths. But just look above your head and you think those are alien. Have a look above. Okay. Now we carry on moving ever so slowly. Keep going around the corner. And you can hear the next stop. I think it's only a little semi-stop. Just want to show you something when we stop there. Alien movies. Alien movies. Always good for the alien movies this way. Now, carry on around the corner. And we're coming to those stairs now. There's 22 of them. And we do count the top stair as a stair. Okay? We get lots of kids coming down here going, there's only 21 of them. And we go, yeah, you were concentrating on that. And you were forgetting all about the fact that you count the top stair as a stair. Now, here we go. There is always a reward for coming downstairs in any cave you've ever visited. And that's this one. Now you may have felt that as we came down here, it got colder. That is not your imagination. The waterfall there is pulling the heat out of the cave, and in its place it's leaving tiny little bits of water vapour. Okay? That's the science. The fun bit is we can make something called dragon breath in here. Watch. Okay? Try that. And again. And again. Maybe. Okay. Now, we're going to carry on moving. If you wanted to do this at home, you have to open up the fridge door, turn out the light and use the door. Don't do it for too long though, because it'll ruin your food. And up we go. Can you see? Down there. The floor of the waterfall, by the way, 10 meters higher than the roof of the cave. So tall. Move further and further on. Okay, can you pause here for a second? I'm going to put some lights on the back of the cave. Just bear with me.
There will be light.
There will be darkness.
Now, some of you may recognize where you are. It will kind of depend on whether you've seen Father Ted or not. Because this is the deep dark cave of Father Ted. It was filmed right here. So if you have Netflix, have a look at Father Ted. Most of the outside scenes were filmed around here in County Clare and mostly on the Burren. Alright, but that's well worth watching. Now at this point we've walked half a kilometre into the side of a mountain. As we've been walking more or less on an even keel, the mountain itself has been growing higher and higher and higher above our heads, and we are now 120 metres under the ground. That is a third of the height of the cliffs of Moher. And we're only a third of the way into the cave as well, because it continues on that way for another kilometre. But from this point on, it becomes a wild cave. If you want to know what they look like, have a look at the video screen over the craft shop. Yeah? Just next to the loop, those are the wild caves. And one of the videos is a film of us going to the back there. Alright? We didn't go as far as the end, but I explained. On the other side of there is a 6-metre drop. Okay? Then we have rivers that rise and fall with the amount of water outside, the amount of rain we get. And then we have sumps. Now, nobody goes beyond the sumps. I'll explain why. The sump is 80 metres long. When you get home, put your kitchen funnel on the table and imagine it full of water, pitch black and freezing cold. Now imagine crawling down the inside, dragging your breathing apparatus with you. It closes tighter and tighter and tighter until it's like the outstretched hands. You get to the end and there is nowhere for you to turn around. So now you have to crawl backwards up the inside of the sump, pushing your breathing apparatus in front of you with your feet. It is not for the faint-hearted. You need specialist training, specialist equipment, and only 4 people on the whole planet have been to the very end of this cave. I am not one of them. Just in case you were wondering, I think they must have been left in the dark a bit too long, if you get my drift. Now, the thing is, let's just have a quick recap, because it took almost 1 million years to form the phreatic tube. And we're actually in the biggest part of it. This is the highway. It's the biggest chamber in the whole cave. Okay? It was then sealed in ice for 2.5 million years more, and then the ice melted. And everything from that flat section down formed when there was a torrent of water raging and racing through the inside of this mountain, tearing the heart of it and depositing it way, way back there. And then it went very calm, very quiet, as the water subsided and the river left the cave. Until a farmer called Jack followed his dog down through a rabbit hole, and everything after that became history. We're about to leave the cave now, and we're going to go through a man-made tunnel. It was opened in 1992 and is 255 metres long. You go down to the very end of the man-made tunnel and then you turn to your right. Now that is natural cave again there, so please watch your head as you go through there. Then there's a gate. Swing the gate open. Do you remember the gate? Yeah, good. Remember the gate? Good. Open the gate and you're going out to the left. You're actually going out through the same door we came in at